Hello, good evening, and welcome. My name is Karina, and I'm a spiritual healer, um, twin flame, and this is my first time going live, and I want to share. I want to talk today about the importance for both twin souls, Divine Union partners, to be on the path with God, and the importance of sexuality. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about is based on my personal experience, as well as what I have seen in the fields when I work with people, and also while working with other healers, what has been transmitted and has been proved to be right based on what I have lived. Um, so I want to start more with what I have noticed. And for a period of time, I feel that the divine feminines have pretty much held and pushed, that's not the correct word, but held space for the divine masculine to rise and to heal. um, she's been very open-hearted in helping him heal, and um, due to spiritual warfare, it's been increasingly hard for him to meet her where she's at. She is a little bit further in the healing journey than he is currently. This is a little bit of a reading of what's going on right now, what's been going on. He still is struggling with false twin flames and egoic desires, like things that fuel his egoic desires, like um, superficial relationships, sexual pursuits, the expensive cars, the clothing, the, keeping up with the Jones, and fitting into society, and the limiting beliefs in general, in regards to spirituality, religion. Um, Also, he's very much stuck in the what looks good, and how to conform to what society or groups that he's a part of, including family. He still hasn't claimed his power and his soul desires, and say, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do, regardless of, whoever opposes it. And he's still settling for less and playing small. He's very much scared of embracing who he truly is at a soul level, divinity level. And he's relied a lot on the divine feminine for a lot of his healing, and she's become like his sanctuary, where he finds peace and comfort, and at the same time, this has been very taxing for the divine feminine, because she's giving, with an open heart, and he hasn't been able to meet her there. It's as if he was not able to see her. And so this is where the importance of both counterparts being on the path with God, why it's important. And the reason why is because neither of them should be relying on the other for healing, although they can help each other and support each other on the path. Each one has their own codes and spiritual gifts. in abilities. We are so powerful, and each one is meant to claim that, but due to still limiting beliefs and what it looks like, and him being wrapped up in making money, or with all the attention outside of himself, he is not wanting to learn how to heal himself, learn how to come into his power. He is really being slapped around by spiritual warfare. He's very much aware of it, he realizes it, but he does nothing about it. And he has lived pretty much in the comfort zone for a very long time, where he's been comfortable in chaos. And he's a lot of the divine masculines have achieved stability in the material world, but the spiritual aspect has really been lacking. And when they see their divine feminine, who she's pretty much living a very different life, where she's not conforming to society's expectations, it's hard for him to get there. In a way, he admires her tremendously, but it's very hard for him to get there. And a lot of the divine masculines, because they're very wealthy and very beautiful men, they attract a lot of attention, and they settle for that. They settle for superficial relationships that are trauma bonding in reality. And a lot of them are also brought on by spiritual attacks, right? Because the whole agenda is to keep the divine counterparts separated. Because if we keep them separated, although each one can come into their own power on their own, and as they should, together they're much more powerful, and they can really do amazing things together, not just for themselves, but for humanity and for their families, and just really create change, that it's in alignment with truth and God and in our souls. And so there are entities that don't want that for the twin souls. And one of the biggest reasons is because they steal these predators, these forces, they steal our abilities from us, and they use them for dark agendas. And I have lived this, and everyone, all twin souls live this, and a lot of us that are not on the path don't even realize it, because we're in a matrix, we're in a system that keeps us working through different systems, through systems that are in place, and we're part of that, and that's that. But there's so much more than that, and there is a better way. So yeah, the importance of each one being on their path is just incredibly important. Through God is how we find our guidance. Everything is possible through God, including overcoming the spiritual warfare. Through God, we find our power. God gave us the right to our energy fields as sovereign beings. And when we claim that and we start healing core woundings, trauma, reclaiming soul parts from previous lifetimes, you start becoming stronger. And at the same time, you start sealing your field, and the incoming attacks don't have the same effect on you. They have to work, they have to find more wounding to get through, because what you already healed, it's already healed. They can't re-wound you there. So, and the importance of sexuality. I recently had I united with my twin soul, my divine union partner, and um, you know, I'm going to speak from my experience. And when I met up with him, I was very luminous. I mean, I've been on the journey of healing for a very long time, so I've healed a lot. So I've come to a place where I feel a lot more powerful in myself, more embodied as a divine feminine, open hearted, loving from a place of being healed. Um, Also, my divine masculine, because we have both masculine and feminine aspects within us. So, my divine masculine is much stronger in a sense that I'm able to make, you know, put boundaries where I need them, really protect myself, protect my divine feminine, whereas before maybe I was more of a doormat, that's the wounded feminine. And the wounded masculine also, that's not there to protect the feminine. So this is the feminine and masculine within. So I was in a really good place when I saw him, and I couldn't resist being with him. I mean, we had been encountering each other in the quantum field for a long time, healing together, and the synergy was just amazing. The just magic happens between the twin souls. You can't feel anyone the way you feel them. If he's far away, I can feel his thoughts. I know when he's sad, I know when he's happy, I know when he's having sex, you know um I know when he's in trouble, whatever it may be. I can feel it, and it's the same for him. It's a dynamic that the connection is always there, no matter where you go, no matter if you're in another relationship. The only way the connection feels diminished is if there is a lot of interference in the fields. And that means that spell work and distortions have been thrown at the twins, and it builds like a field of distortion in between the twins. And then, you can't really. But if you really get into your heart, to the very depth of your heart, you can still feel them, but you can feel everything that stands in between them and you as well. So when we interacted, um, this was a big lesson for me, because although I had been helping him heal, he still was holding in his testicles a lot of sexual entities, as well as programs that were designed to basically attack the feminine, not just his divine feminine, his divine union partner, but also other feminines. And just a lot of programming that, it's inorganic. It's not how we were created, and our wounding is used in order to introduce that into our fields. So when we were sexually, um, when we interacted sexually, I felt all these entities. The night we slept together, I felt my energy just being drained out of me. It was as if my beauty left me. My abilities, my spiritual gifts, a lot of them were. So when you're under possession, you have a lot of entities on you. You can't really access your abilities. So you're in trouble, because now the spiritual warfare is internal, While we have spiritual warfare that's external because they're sending stuff at you and it's breaking in your field, your auric field. Now you have it inside of you because you slept with someone, who, whatever their practices, sexual practices are, you're going to carry that also, and for a lot of divine feminines, me included, I wouldn't say I've been celibate because I do have sexual interaction with him when I see him, which is not very often. I have had, I should say. However, for many years, I was celibate, and but I didn't quite understand the dynamic. But I do see now the pattern that every time we interacted sexually, just my whole life would just basically go to hell, and so that's the that's the thing about sexuality, that it's sacred. It's not meant to be just spread around, and because it carries a lot with it, and for that reason we have to heal the distortions within ourselves, and the programs of polyamory, of the distortions in our masculine that uses their sexuality to, or riches or whatever, to gain women, the ego wounding, attachments to the ego. I mean, healing is so important. We can't just, or you just keep looping in a life where you are just puppet to these entities. Basically, you're a puppet, and it doesn't feel good. It amazes me how some men and women can live their whole lives full of entities, in distortion, in suffering, and not do anything about it, not submit to God, because God heals all. God gives you that right and that power, and you truly discover who you are through God, right? Because we are made in its essence, image, right? Well, what does that mean? We're made in its image. Let's say image. To me, it's image, essence, right? Because our soul comes from God and the soul is essence. So God is luminous. At least that's how I've experienced God. God is unconditional love. God is all powerful. And if I'm made in its essence and its image, then what am I? Right? So I can use that power. How? By unifying myself with God, I can heal all my wounding. I can free myself, basically, and ascend. I can better have a grip on spiritual warfare, which I don't know that we will see this end in this lifetime. I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of work being done by light workers. There's a lot of things changing, but it's gonna take time. It's really gonna take time. And how are we gonna choose to live this life? Are we gonna continue living the same way, or are we gonna face our fears and face ourselves and come to God? I mean, God is all merciful. God, God doesn't judge us. There's no judgments. You can make mistakes. I mean, I went and I slept with my Devine Union partner, which we have the same. It's not like he's anybody to me. We share soul frequency. So, to me, he is special. However, I think at that moment I did not really understood the depth of the distortion within him. And now I'm cleaning up, and I'm coming back into alignment, and I'm again, coming to myself, coming to God, and getting stronger again. But it's taken me days, and it's okay. It's a learning experience. Now I understand men hold, spiritual attachments to the testicles, sexual distortions in the testicles, programming, and depending on their sexual practices, they can be loaded, be like a walking bomb that can explode any moment, and they'll siphon you. They'll siphon. They're using these men. Unfortunately, my divine union partner is being used by dark forces to siphon from women, you know, and it's a big deal, but it's both men and women have to come to that understanding, and it's not until they're ready. However, God gives us free will. Do whatever you want. You take your time, however long it takes you to get to God. It's all right, But on a personal note, how long is it going to be? This lifetime? Is it going to be next lifetime? How long are you going to be in these miserable, looping episodes? Because that's what they are. They're episodes of looping karma. We can get rid of it. You can get rid of karma. It's superimposed anyway. It's not even our karma. It's all the mistakes we've made. Pretty much, they're all because we've been distorted in some way and we lost our way. Yeah. So it's not the end of the world, but there's importance in coming back to self, coming back to God, and with that also comes releasing limiting beliefs about spirituality, because a lot of the divine masculines don't embrace God at a deep level because they've been indoctrinated uh, by religion, right? But I don't see religion really healing much other than telling you what you can and you can't do. And most people that are religious, they're still doing what they're told not to do. And then you have spiritual people that are truly connecting with God, who are actually healing. They're healing themselves. They're helping others heal, you know? And these religious people, they look at us like we're freaking crazy, like we're working with the devil or something, just because the religion told them so, you know? It's ridiculous. But everybody learns on their own timing. So that's that. And yeah, so sexuality is super important. Um, Also, what happens is when you have both counterparts who are completely clean, when they come together, I don't know about all divine union partners, but my divine union partner and I, we have divine bodies. So if we're both clean, meaning no entities, no nothing, when you come together, it's just like light, and like union with ourselves, but with God, like emergence. Okay, but I have experienced this with him in the quantum field when we're in a sacred space and we're healing each other, and our hearts just totally merge, totally, like total surrender, and it's just us with God, and it's just very luminous, very sacred, very sacred. And yeah, very important for both counterparts to come together through God and to have sexual hygiene, and that comes through healing of trauma, sexual trauma, clearing sexual distortions, healing the ego, um, distortions in the masculine aspect, the feminine aspect, healing from sexual mystery programs. There's so much that has been done to the counterparts, I mean, to humanity at large, but to the counterparts especially, because who we are, the importance of what we're here to do. So anyway, thank you so much for being here with me, for listening. And if you have any questions, any suggestions, any requests on what we should talk about, I just want to say that it is my intention to bring forth healing containers where we can all come together and heal our relationship with God, learn how to um, merge with God and the power of our hearts to transmute. And what I mean by transmute is like an alchemist, right? The alchemist, it is said that the alchemists, they alchemize lead into gold. And if you translate that into English, it means basically taking pain and suffering and wounding and spell work and whatever else is not organic and turning it into the opposite of that, right? Love, healing, freedom, liberty, God, soul. So my intention is also to hold space to heal inner child wounding, um, mother wounding, father wounding, um, as well as the wounding of the feminine, the wounding of the masculine. What else are we gonna? Everything. We're gonna heal everything that has to do with divine union, which will get us closer to God, to our true essence, and we call back our divine union partner, right? However, they still need to be doing their own work. They still need to, especially those divine masculines that are targeted, heavily targeted because of who they are. A lot of them actually have a lot of self-esteem issues. They come off as very, many even as arrogant, confident, but really, truly inside, they're very wounded. Their self-esteem is very wounded, and no judgment here. All is love. All is love, because that's what God is, and that's what lives within us, and that's what drives me. But we do have to see through these illusions, because only through seeing them, identifying them, can we actually heal them. That's the only way. Being aware and conscientious about all of this. It's so paramount. And yeah, we were all created with an original blueprint. Yeah, so remember, we came from God, we're made in its image, we're like, we're in the essence of, whatever you want to call it. So our blueprint is a divine blueprint, and that includes the Divine Mother, yeah, Holy Mother. It includes the Divine Father, Holy Father within us, the Divine Feminine, yeah, the Divine Masculine. We're talking about Christ. We're talking about the female aspect of Christ. We're talking about sacred sexuality. We're talking about the sacred family. We're talking about sovereignty. We're talking about freedom. We're talking about soul essence. We're talking about who we are as divine beings, and bringing that back, embodying that, calling that back, coming back to ourselves, to our innocence, the inner child joy with the wisdom of the years that we have lived, right? All of those embodiments, that's what we're talking about. So what I want to offer is healing so that we may begin to embody more of our true selves. And from this place where you're much more embodied, whether you're a man or a woman, you'll be much more magnetic. You magnetize your soul desires, because you're co-creating with God. When you come into union with God, you're in co-creation with God. So it doesn't get much better than that. you know so with that, I'm gonna leave you. Thank you so much love and gratitude. I'm so happy to have had this conversation monologue for now. Hopefully I'll get some questions or suggestions or comments. They're all welcome. If you could hit the like button so it can jumpstart this channel so more people can see it. And thank you so much. Have a great evening, a beautiful Friday night.